What's up guys and welcome to FoundFlix. Today I have a very special Stranger Things video, an interview with Aaron Sims from Aaron Sims Creative. These guys had a huge hand in the design and execution of visual effects on the show, so check out my interview where we go behind the scenes of the creation of the Demogorgon and the Upside Down. It's really interesting, take a look. Awesome, well thank you so much again for doing this, I really appreciate it, taking time out of your day to talk to me, so I'm excited. First off, how did you get involved with Stranger Things?
Stranger Things, I know the directors. I worked with the Duffers on the previous project called The Hidden. It was a Warner Brothers film, and they're just, such a great couple of guys. They're really inventive, good storytellers, and they really wanted to explore a bunch of unique things. And when they talked about this project, I was extremely excited about it. We had such a great working relationship on the previous project that I knew it was going to go smooth. I didn't know much about the project until they started really talking about it.
Okay. You just signed on board. You knew that it was going to be good just because it was those guys again, right? You're like,
exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
As far as on the previous film, you did visual effects on Hidden as well, or?
Yeah, we did some designs and visual effects. And we were hired on at that time after the project was already shot, so we were kind of coming in to kind of save the day kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
And, they were so happy with it, so they called me and said, hey, I got this cool project that we're pitching at Netflix. You want to be involved? And I said, of course. Even before I knew what it was, I said, yeah. So, because they basically said there's going to be a cool creature in it, and you'd be perfect for this. So, kind of started there, and then they started to get into the details of what it was, and I got even more excited.
No, I mean, the actual specific kind of show that it is what's even more exciting to me, because I'm a big fan of 80s stuff and all that too. So seeing that kind of reignited through their ideas and stuff like that is really exciting too.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as the actual timeline of the production, I saw that they were finishing the show literally days before it was released. Did you encounter some of that as far as scrambling to get things done until the last minute? Or yeah.
Well, that's the nature of the business no matter what.
Sure.
So, movies are that way, TV, especially TV. TV is definitely that way. And this is one of those that, we wanted to fine tune it right up to the last minute. And there's, it's really days or, weeks or days.
Sure.
So, and sometimes it's just a day to do a day or so just to do a creature from the beginning to the end.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't even imagine that, starting from scratch and then going, well, it's done. Got to move on from that in one day. That's insane.
Yeah, it's insane sometimes. But luckily we created a good pipeline here at the company, ASC, and I have an incredible talent. And we had, the creature all rigged and animated for the most part. It was just tweaking it here and there based on notes and, rendering it and compositing it and getting it out.
And how many total shots did you guys have in the show that you did?
Well, ultimately we did over 100 shots.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was one of those that kind of grew. It started off hey, we're just going to help. There was basically a guy in a suit.
Right.
For a portion of it. We designed it at the beginning. We helped Spectral Motion, which was the makeup effects house, build a suit for the actor, Mark Steger. And from there it went into knowing that we were going to do some touch-ups here and there. That we were told at the beginning, hey, we need you to help not only design this, but help touch up some of the stuff on the suit. There's a few shots that we know that the guy can't do in the suit, which is coming out of the wall. And
yeah, so I was thinking that specifically. I know they tried to actually do that practically, right, with a guy in a suit coming out of the wall, and then it just didn't work the right way, I guess, or something is what I read.
Yeah, it's one of those that we knew that was going to be visually enhanced.
Right.
That was the thing. So the performer, since they were doing all the other shots, it was basically there was a hole for where he's coming out of the wall. He ended up coming out of the wall, but then what the directors wanted at that time is for an action that it was kind of difficult for the performer to do.
Okay.
And we ended up doing basically a test, an animation test, and from there we were able to give them something exactly what they needed. And then that helped us move forward for any of the other shots where it's coming out of the walls, like the brick wall or the ceiling, or any places where it had to do something that the guy in the suit just couldn't do.
And how is the process actually working with the Duffer Brothers to create the monster?
Oh, it was fantastic. They're so collaborative. The concept they came up with at the beginning was the basic idea that they gave me to start with was basically a humanoid creature. Has basically slightly demonic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Very lanky and no face at all. But it has to eat, so it's so it opens up, so many different ideas when that's basically the only information I'm giving.
Yeah, that's a lot of leeway to figure out where to take that creatively. That's really cool. And did it have eyes? Did you ever actually, like, were there eyes that you guys put into it? I've argued with that about my friends, whether there are no eyes or very, very tiny ones or things like that.
You know, there wasn't any designs that had eyes. I think it was always, because that was one of the things that they always said is basically it's one of those that they looked at it as like it didn't need eyes, it had other senses.
Yeah, that's actually what my whole stupid theory was about it, was that idea. Using its mind's eye.
Taste, any of that stuff, you know, like hear, whatever, that made, you know, its victims. And so the first pass, like the first week, you know, we basically, you know, me and my team of artists created a ton of different designs. And there was one design in I think it was like about 10 different designs that first week that when we first started. They found one that they liked that had this kind of flowery face.
Yeah.
And that was basically, from there, that was the direction we went. So it was like almost the first week we found it, at least the beginning of it. Then it was trying to figure out how to reverse engineer it and what does it look like with the mouth closed.
Oh, sure.
Designed it with the mouth open. And then it was refining it after that point. So it was kind of a back and forth, but it was actually more challenging to figure out what it looked like all closed up, because you could go any direction, you know, because the first design they fell in love with, it was this flowery face with all these teeth.
Yeah.
And which was really, that was, you know, the way that you mainly see it anyway in the film, in the show. So it was trying to figure out, like, in its neutral position, which was, you know, interesting and challenging. Is it, you know, do they overlap the petals, or do they come together, you know, in a certain way? Do they make a false space? You know, there was all these different things that we played around with that to make it kind of interesting, and we kind of went with, you know, the simplicity of it, just all kind of closing up, you know, all, you know, almost symmetrically.
That's cool. And that was one of my questions, was if there were any alternate designs, and obviously there were a lot of alternate designs for the monster at first, and then you kind of figured out the path that they liked and went from that.
Yeah, and a lot of times we work in 3D, like our designs. We use a program called ZBrush, and it's like a digital clay. My background is makeup effects, and I work for Stan Winston and Rick Baker.
Oh, wow.
You know, but my background was sculpting a lot of, you know, so I was used to clay. So now there's this digital clay, which is great. You just don't have that hands-on feeling of clay in your hands. That's the only thing I miss.
Yeah.
But what's great is it becomes these things that you can actually design really quick as a 3D object and look around at it and change it on the fly and commit to it, and that becomes an asset that you can actually use for anybody to mill out for a makeup effect or to use as an animation piece. And so it was kind of a, you know, working in that way actually helps answer a lot of questions real quick.
That's cool. Yeah, I didn't even know about that actual concept of like digital clay. That's really interesting. I know, like, you know, I guess standard 3D would be more of the wireframe kind of design, building it that way. But the idea of like virtual clay, it's really interesting. The development from, like you were saying, actually sculpting to what that version is nowadays, you know. As far as the upside down as well, can you talk about kind of the creation of the look of that, starting from that really awesome concept art to the sort of on-screen finished product?
Yeah, that was, you know, they had the idea of this, you know, it was our world, basically, that's dark, it's got this film on it, or there's something really obscure about it, but it's still recognizable as our world that's kind of been almost decayed in a lot of ways. And so that was the information that Duffers gave us for the Upside Down world, and it ended up designing, you know, almost like it was inspired by an artist named Beksinski. He's a European artist that a lot of, he's no longer with us. He was passed away several years ago, but he's influenced a lot of things like Constantine, The Hell, and Constantine, and a bunch of other. But there was a little bit of influence of Beksinski in that feel where there's like this kind of a webby type of feel of organic that's decayed, that's eaten up by, you know, something that may have once been alive. And so we ended up doing some designs just with the stuff that was, you know, almost like these weird pods that were growing too as well. And so we added all these different elements, and then I started talking to the Duffers about like creating like almost like this weird like spores that were in the air. So it felt like there was like whatever we see there is like this is the stuff that's growing it, and they love that idea. So we incorporated that in the designs, and that became in the show. You know, that was part of like knowing that that you were in that world sometimes from different angles, that these spores, and it was dark, and with this floaty stuff in the air.
Well, it felt like that probably wasn't a good idea for them to breathe it at the end. When they save Will, they take their masks off, and I'm like, I don't know if they should be breathing those particles, the spores, I guess. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
It's been great talking to you, and look forward to the next time.
Wow, how cool was that? I talked to Aaron a lot longer. In fact, we were almost on Skype for about 45 minutes. And so I have a whole bunch more footage that I might be turning into a video soon. Also, it was cool because we got a few little tidbits about some questions that I had in the show. Near the end, he mentioned how all those particles are actually spores, no doubt tied to the overgrowth that we see all over the place in the Upside Down. Also, he revealed the design of the monster never included eyes. He's able to use all of his other senses to be able to see and doesn't even need his eyes. As you saw in the video, there were a bunch of really cool production assets they sent over, but there were 2 more that I didn't actually get to talk to. I do have to warn you though, if you're a fan of Barb, you might want to turn away now. Yikes! That's right, it seems that originally Barb had a much more horrifying and grotesque ending rather than what we saw with just a slug coming out of her mouth in the show. It's clear they were trying to go for a more shocking, overtly graphic initial death for Barb, and that is very clear in these designs. I can't imagine how much more Barb fans would be upset to see this happen. I mean, geez. Anyway, thank you so much to Aaron Sims for taking the time to talk to me. It was really cool. Also, make sure to check out Aaron Sims on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. They've been putting up a lot of really cool behind-the-scenes stuff, but you can also stay up to date on their upcoming projects like the new Planet of the Apes and Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One. I'll put a link to their pages in the description below, but also you can click the annotation at the end of the video. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Found Flicks.